Good Shabbos. This week is Parshas Eikev. And in this portion, towards the end, we have the second paragraph of the Shema, where it says, V'hayim Shema tishmu el mitzvosai, if you listen to my commandments, which I've commanded you, to love God, to serve Him, then God will give you rain in its time, you'll have lots of produce, and everything will be beautiful. And then it goes on, if you serve other gods, then v'chara af Hashem b'chem, God will get very angry with you and hold up the heavens, there will not be rain, and things will not go as smoothly as you would like. So it's very clear in this section that there's very guaranteed reward and punishment. If you behave, this is what happens. If you don't behave, this is the punishment. The problem is that in real life we know that's not true. Right? We talk about it many times, the idea of why good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. Well, we know many people who on the second side of it, they don't behave and they still do very well. And of course vice versa. So it's the oldest problem in theology, but it's very much present in this portion of the Shema. So interestingly, Maimonides really talks about this in his laws of tshuva, his laws of repentance, and he says what I think he means is that God created the world and it goes down a natural path. What does that mean? If you're good to people, if you behave, if you're moral and ethical, if you're honest in business, more people will work with you. More people will do business with you. If you are responsible in taking care of your fields, then your fields will do better. Is that a guarantee? No, because you could do everything that's right, and lightning could strike, a flood could occur, and before you know it, everything you have is wiped out. And vice versa also. You could be a very poor businessman, you could work unethically, and make a investment that just out of luck turns out to be make you very wealthy. So he's saying there's no guarantee in life. The only guarantee, Maimonides says, is the ultimate reward. The reward in the world to come is always 100% clear. Of course, the question is, how do we know what we're going to get, and how does God determine that? That's another important question. But he's saying that's what God controls 100%. You lead your life, and you come to God after 120 years, you're going to get what is deserving. In this world, he's saying that's not the main reward. So if that's not what you're looking for, it's not what you're aiming for, that's not why you're working your whole life, is to get the money, but rather the reward, the ultimate reward in the world to come, then if it doesn't come, nothing terrible has happened. I shouldn't say that. Of course, something terrible might have happened, but in other words, it's not essential to your existence. It's not essential to, in Maimonides' terms, your immortality. Immortality is the ultimate reward. Suffering, whether it's suffering, real suffering in the afterlife, or not having an afterlife, according to Maimonides, that's something which is essential and inherent in everything you do. Everything else is just a tool and a path towards that. So it's not guaranteed, but it's more likely to happen. And what he's saying is that God created the world in a natural way, which generally, we can't put a percentage on it, but generally rewards those that act in a positive fashion, that act morally and ethically, follow the ways of God, and those that don't are not going to be successful, because ultimately those types of people fail. So therefore, the answer is that yes, the Torah presents it in somewhat of a black and white way. And it's saying, if you do this, this happens. If you do that, that happens. And Maimonides is saying, no, it's not necessarily true. It only happens in most of the time, or a good portion of the time. And the question that you might still have is, so why does the Torah present it in that way? I would say that the Torah presents a lot of things in black and white. It's no different than when you raise a child. You don't raise a child and say, you would say, crime doesn't pay. You're not going to tell the child, crime doesn't pay generally, but once in a while it does. You have to get the message across. And that message is really important, because as soon as we have an out and think, well, we have a 25% chance of success, even if we don't act the correct path, you rationalize your behavior. The Torah is there to create sort of this morality that is 100% giving over the impression that it's 100% guaranteed in order to make sure to establish a society and a nation and a people that follow the ways of the Torah, because they realize that these are the natural outcomes. And hopefully that gives us a sense of the answer to the question which really bothers many people, is like the Torah's promises don't come true. And on the other hand, it gives us a sense, well, but the Torah is telling us if we lead such a life, we have a good chance of being successful. And a good chance is more than just saying, well, maybe it's worth it. It's saying this is what life is all about. And it might not work on every individual person, every individual level, but as a society as a whole, it does work. Societies and countries that work towards ethical and moral goals are going to be more successful in the long run. Just as an example in the Torah, when it says the city of Sodom and Amorah were destroyed, and we get a story about how they're so terrible in Sodom and Amorah, it might not be the miraculous end to the society that the way the Torah says it, but it's saying that the message is that societies that are not behaving in the proper way self-destruct. And the opposite is also true. Societies which act in a moral and ethical way, just think of the fact that we live in Canada, which is a society that looks to help people and not to harm people, and we seem to be somewhat successful. Will that always be the case? We can't guarantee it, but it's more likely. And hopefully that's sufficient to drive us to do the right thing. Good Shabbos.